In this video, I'm going to share with you the top questions that I get asked when people call Freedom Fighter Tactical and my answers to those questions. Let's get started right now. Hey there, I'm Todd. I started Freedom Fighter Tactical in 2008. We've been going strong since then, so that's almost 12 years. And we focus specifically on Benelli M4 parts and accessories, making the Benelli M4 as good of a gun as you can make it. We also cover the Benelli M1, M2, and M3 in some respects, but the focus has always been on the M4 shotgun. You can visit us at freedomfightertactical.com and take a look at all the parts and accessories for the Benelli M4, M1, M2, M3, and M4, and some other guns, because a lot of the stuff that works on the Benelli M series shotguns also works on a lot of other shotguns owned by Beretta. So today we're going to talk about, I've had 12 years worth of questions that have come into me at Freedom Fighter Tactical, and I'm going to share with you 5 big questions that people seem to have that are all common questions for your entertainment and information purposes and whatnot. And as a bonus at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you how I would build my M4 shotgun if I were buying one brand new today, knowing everything I know about Benelli M4 shotguns. What would I buy and put on the shotgun if I were buying it new today? That'll be at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Also, I haven't done videos in a long time for Freedom Fighter Tactical, and that's going to change. I've got a lot of topics that we can discuss when it comes to the Benelli M series shotguns, and we're going to be hitting those hard through the rest of 2019 and into 2020. So don't be a stranger. Hit the subscribe button down below if you want more videos that inform you about the Benelli series shotguns, M series shotguns, and hit the little bell. That'll notify you that a new video has arrived. If you hit that bell, you'll get a little notification up in the top right-hand corner of YouTube to let you know that, hey, Freedom Fighter Tactical's got a new video. And before we get into the first question, and I'm going to try to be short on this, but I want to make this very clear to everybody in my audience, okay? I am not giving you legal advice here, folks. And as a representative of Freedom Fighter Tactical, Freedom Fighter Tactical is not giving you legal advice here, okay? The advice that I'm going to give you is to contact a proficient attorney of record that you can throw your questions at and have them research and give you answers. Of course, that's the expensive route. The other advice I have for you is to contact the ATF or the authority within your state, the authority on guns in your state, probably guns, penal code, all is under the same thing, and inquire with them if you have any questions at all about the law or if you want to build your gun legally. I'm providing you information about how to build a gun legally, but that's my opinion and my understanding of the laws as I understand them and know them. It's not my advice to you to follow what I believe. It is my advice to you to seek out your own answers with the authorities, okay, or with a competent attorney. I'm just sharing with you my understanding of things. It is not legal advice. I am not telling you how the law is or isn't. For the most part, I am just explaining to you my understanding for your information. That's it, okay? You're an adult. You are an adult. If you're old enough to serve, you're old enough to have a job, you're old enough to buy a gun, you're old enough to own a gun, then you're old enough to be a big boy or a big girl and handle your own research and be responsible for yourself. I am not responsible for your legal lack of legal exposure by providing you this advice, okay? I'm not responsible. You're responsible for you. And the best advice I have, again, is if you have any doubt whatsoever, and I think all of you should have a doubt because I'm giving you my interpretation of things, my understanding of things as I've understood it for the last 10 years. You should doubt it. Even though I'm probably correct, you should doubt it and do your own homework. And that's sending a letter to the ATF. I'll put the address down below where you can send your inquiries to the ATF or your state authorities in California, which is where I am. That would be the California Department of Justice. And you get your own documentation from them that explains what you need to do. So for instance, if you want to put a long tube on your shotgun, a 7-round mag tube, which is generally the standard size mag tube. It's not an extension for you people out there who think the 7-round tube's an extension. It doesn't extend anything, okay? It replaces a neutered tube, so to speak. Only the 2-rounder is an extension. The 7-round is not an extension. I know you're going to call me anyway and say, oh, I want to buy the extension. No, you want to buy the standard 7-round capacity magazine tube. But, you know, if you want to put that on your gun, send a letter to the ATF and say, hey, I want to put the 7-round tube on my gun. What do I need to do? They will send you a letter that step-by-step illustrates what you need to do. It's probably going to be the same letter that I got, okay? But then it's addressed to you. You've gone and sought the answers yourself. Those answers pertain to you directly from the authorities. If you ever wound up in legal jeopardy in any circumstances whatsoever, and you produce a letter that says the ATF told you how to build your gun, and you've got a prosecutor across the room who's saying you didn't build it legally, they're dead in the water. Okay? Most likely they're dead in the water. You're not going to be able to point, Todd, Freedom Fighter told you this or told you that, because I didn't tell you this or tell you that. I told you what I understand, and I'm telling you to seek your own answers, despite what I understand and what I think I know. I want you to seek your own answers. I want you to be responsible for yourself. I want you to follow the letter of the law, and I want you to cover all bases. All that being said, I am now going to share with you my understanding of various things in regards to the law when it comes to the top 5 questions that people are always asking me at Freedom Fighter Tactical. So now that all that is through, you know you're on your own. If you choose to live by what I talk about in this video, you're doing it at your own risk and peril. I will not be responsible for it in any fashion whatsoever because I'm just sharing with you my understanding, okay? It's not my knowledge. It's not my guarantee. It's not it's not written in stone anywhere. It's just my understanding. So let's get started. Enough of that, okay? First question I always get asked is, if I buy the gun and it already has a 7-round mag tube on it, and or it already has a collapsible stock on it, do I have to make it 922R compliant since I bought it that way, okay? A lot of the times, my customers bought it that way directly from a police department, okay? It's my understanding that you're not compliant, okay? There's a lot of people out there on the internet who believe you are compliant. If you read the law, there is a lot in the law, and just to let you know, 922R is I think it's 18 USC 922R. I might be wrong on that. You can go to my website, freedomfightertactical.com, and go to the 922R FAQ and get all the particulars. But I think it's 18 USC 922R, but it also has some ATF rules and regulations and some other code sections. But we all call it 922R. But you need to make sure that you're following that. If you want to put the 7-round tube on there, that's great. But you're going to need 3 parts. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting totally confused here. We're talking about you bought it in that configuration. I lost my train of thought. So when you buy it in that configuration, the law kind of gives a lot of us, not myself included though, but the law gives a lot of us a good reason to believe that if you didn't configure the gun in that configuration, meaning you didn't buy the parts, get them all together, and then build the gun or modify the gun with the parts, somebody else did that, then that's their 922R liability, not yours. So you can buy it and it's already in that configuration and it would be legal. There's a lot of people that believe that, and that very well may be the law. I don't believe it. And even if I did believe it, I wouldn't tell you I believed it. Because I wouldn't want you to do it, okay? And not just because I have a personal interest in selling gun parts to you, but I err on the side of caution. I want to make sure, I cherish my gun rights, I cherish my freedom, okay? And I don't want to jeopardize it over a few bucks. If I'm a big enough boy to have this shotgun and to trick it out the way I want it to, then I'm a big enough boy to guarantee and ensure it's legal. Now, if there's this gray area out there where some people believe that if you bought it already configured that way, then you're cool, that person's not the prosecutor that's going to come after you. That gun shop owner is not the prosecutor that's going to come after you. That store clerk is not the prosecutor that's going to come after you. So their opinion of a gray area within the law is nonsense. Really, kind of like my opinion is nonsense. I believe that the law is very gray there, and I would err on the side of caution. You know, you take that for what you want. Take it for what it's worth. You got to come to your own conclusion. So I recommend building the gun legally. If you buy the gun and it already has the tube on there, then you need 3 American-made parts if you want to keep that tube. And actually, if you want to replace that tube, you can buy an American-made long tube, a 7-round tube, and replace the one that's already on the gun. Either way, you want to get the 3 parts on the gun. If it has the tube and the collapsible stock, or just the collapsible stock and not the tube, the collapsible stock is always going to be 4 parts. So you're going to want to build it legally so that there's no question down the road, if anything comes up, that you've built the gun legally. And again, you want to send your letter to the ATF and get an answer to be definitive. So again, short answer to the question. I buy the gun. It's already configured that way. Do I need to make it 922R compliant? My answer at Freedom Fighter Tactical, my understanding, my belief, and my suggestion is make it legal. Just even if it's already legal, if some prosecutor out there believes it's legal, some judge thinks it's legal, even if the preponderance of the prosecutors thought it was legal, if there's even one prosecutor out there that thinks it might not be legal, then build it legally. Just build it legally. Because you can get the 3 components for, what, $300? And you take the issue off the table. If the issue's on the table, you're going to spend a lot more than $300 on legal fees. In fact, your first hour is going to probably be $500 with the attorney. Okay? So you spend half the money to make it legal that you would spend for the first hour with an attorney if it turned out not to be legal, if it, in the rare circumstance, almost impossible circumstance that you might be in trouble over it, you're insured, you're covered. You've covered your bases, you've covered your butt, right? So why risk it? All right, so the next big question is, how do you get compliance with when you buy the gun and it's got a 5-round magazine tube on there and you want to put the 7-round tube on there? How do you make it compliant? All right, the first thing I would do is buy the tube. This is a titanium magazine tube for the Benelli M4. I would buy the tube, long tube. You want one anyway? Don't buy, I mean, look, if you want to buy Benelli OEM and try to keep it all original, that's great. That's your prerogative. But a tube is a tube, and our tubes are phenomenal. Freedom Fighter Tactical's tubes are phenomenal. I've sold thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of titanium and steel tubes. Okay? Phenomenal. They go one direction out the door. People put them on their guns. They love them. Okay? That's where I would start. That's one part. Okay? Then you've got a choice of several parts, but there's not many. I know what some of you are thinking. I can get the charging handle and that'll count as a part. No, it won't. It has to be off a specific parts list, and that parts list can be found on freedomfightertactical.com in the 922R FAQ. There's 13 parts to choose from for the Benelli M4. There's only so many commercially available parts out of those 13. So depending on what you want to do with your gun, you're going to have to make certain choices, okay? So for instance, if you want to use the tube and the collapsible stock, the next choice, which you can't use if you're using the regular Benelli stock, the pistol grip or the straight stock, or let's say you're not using the collapsible stock, you can use this. This is a Mesa Tactical Urbino stock. It comes in a couple different configurations. You can look at all that on freedomfightertactical.com. This counts as one 922R compliant part. So if you, and it's shorter. This is a 2-inch, this stock is 2 inches shorter than your OEM stock, okay? For most people, they need that 2 inches taken off. The Benelli stock is pretty long for most people, okay? So that's the beauty of the Mesa stock. It counts as a 922R part and it's 2 inches shorter. It's a beautiful pistol grip stock. This is what I've been using for a long time. If you want to find out if your stock is too long for you, there's a little bit of information I wasn't going to do in this video. If you want to find out a quick and dirty way to find out if your stock is too long for you, you take your gun in your hand, firing hand, and you point it at the sky. And you put your elbow at a 90-degree turn. and point the gun up straight at the sky. Boy, I need to lift some weights because it's almost shaking. I'm trying to get the gun perfectly straight. Where you want to look is, I got the sling in the way. Where you want to look is where is the stock in relation to your arm? You see how I've got some room in there? You see how I've got some room? I can put my hand in there. If the original Benelli stock would be down again, I don't know if I can make it duplicate, but the original Benelli stock on me would be against my bicep firmly, okay? You want to have a space between your bicep and your stock. If you don't have a space between your bicep and the stock is too long for you. Now, I learned that from somebody who trained Marines in shotgunning, okay? This was his quick and dirty way of determining if a stock was too long for a soldier, was to point it at the sky and see where the stock fell on the bicep. If it was on the bicep, it's too long. If there's a space enough that you can slide your hand under there, you're good to go. All right, so we've covered two parts. If you're using the collapsible stock, obviously you can't use this, the Mesa stock. So that takes that off the table. If you're using the Benelli OEM mag tube, you won't be able to use my titanium, okay? But there's still ways of doing it because we've got the forend, the foregrip, okay? The two pieces that your support hand hold on to when you're shooting the gun. I know it's two pieces, but it only counts as one. So if you remove the original off the gun and put mine on there, and these are pretty much a duplicate, these are stronger than the original. They have a lot of glass in the nylon, which makes them stronger and more heat resistant, but it also makes them bend a little more. These kind of have an outward bend. When you hold them together, they don't want to, you see that gap in there, but when it's on the gun, that gap will get closed up. But the glass or the nylon when it cools, all nylon when it cools, or all plastics for that matter, want to bend in some way or another. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, sometimes it depends on the quality of plastic, sometimes it doesn't. In this situation, it depends on how much glass is in my nylon. There's a lot of glass in the nylon. That, with the accordion feature on the side, similar to the OEM, makes them want to bend outward a little bit when they cool, but it's not a problem when you get them on your... They're tough to get on your gun the first time you do it because it is tricky. You have to fight a little bit, but once you kind of figure out the slip of the wrist, it's going to be easy, and they fit better than the OEM. All right. So what other 922R compliant parts do we have? We have the follower, okay? This fits on the end of the spring and pushes the shotgun shells forward. You'd be amazed at how many times people call me and they don't know what a follower does. That's what this does. You can't see this on the outside of the gun unless you're looking through the ejection port, so you can make this any color you want. Most people make it red, but we also offer it in black, green, and clear. Any of them are gonna work, but I wouldn't suggest black, even though we sell a ton of them. Because I think they're harder to see, but any of them will work well for you, and that counts as a 922R part. And then we've got our trigger kit, which in older videos, if you watch my older videos, you'll see that we used to sell trigger components separately. We no longer do that because it was too hard to maintain our inventory. So we sell this as a kit. It's a hammer, it's a disconnector. Disconnector's kind of small, hard to see. I'll put it over my shirt so you can see it. And the trigger, okay? So these three pieces, I don't know if I can hold all three at the same time. These three pieces count as 3 parts, okay? So if you're using the magazine, if you want to swap out the magazine tube, the natural thing to do would be to swap out for an American-made magazine tube. If you don't want to, you could get the trigger kit. That's 3 pieces. No matter what, you need 3 pieces. If the magazine tube's not counting as a piece because you're buying a Benelli original or you're buying a foreign-made magazine tube, then you just simply need 3 other pieces. It can be the stock, it can be the forend, it can be the trigger components. You just need 3 pieces. And then if you're using the collapsible stock with the long tube or the collapsible stock by itself, no matter what, you use the collapsible stock, you need 4 pieces, okay? If you're using the collapsible stock, it's impossible to choose this, okay? The Mesa Tactical stock, because you can't have them both on the gun at the same time. And you need 4 pieces. And if you're buying from Freedom Fighter Tactical, you would have 2 routes if I sold my trigger components individually. You could buy the follower, the forend. You could buy the follower, the forend, the tube. Let's see, can I have all 3 in the picture at the same time? Yeah. And then you could buy one of the 3 trigger components. But again, I don't sell them individually. It's madness on my inventory. So if you're using the collapsible stock, you really need to get the 3-piece trigger kit. And I would probably do the tube if you're needing a tube anyway. So tube, trigger kit is the very best route for the collapsible stock. That takes care of the first question. All right, next question that I get at Freedom Fighter Tactical on a regular basis is, I get phone calls from these people, and some of you are going to laugh, and some of you are going to shake your head, and some of you are not going to be surprised. But I have people that call me that ask me if they permanently pin their collapsible stock in California, can they use it legally? Okay. For those of you who don't know, California prohibits collapsible stocks, skeletonized stocks on semi-automatic shotguns. Okay. So people want to pin it. Now, my first question always is, why do you want to pin it? And I always get two answers, one of two answers, or both sometimes. The first answer is, I think it looks cool. Okay. The second answer is, I don't like law enforcement all that much, and I want to screw with them. I want to take my gun to the range, and I want to shoot it all I want. And when some cop comes over and bothers me, I'm going to want to laugh in his face when I point at the pinned stock. Okay? Quite frankly, I find that disgusting. Law enforcement, a large portion of my network is law enforcement and military. I have the utmost respect for them. I don't want to make their job harder. I don't want to make their job having to worry about me. I don't want to do things to attract negative attention from a crowd of people who I greatly admire. And I like to think that my customer base is solidly people who think like me. But there are people out there who have their grievances, who want to be a smart aleck, whatever it is, okay? And I tell these people, I actually scold them. I don't care if I lose them as a client or not. I scold them. I tell them how ridiculous it is and that they need to grow up, okay? And that they need to get a life. And that if they're looking for negative intention from law enforcement, they're going to find it one way or the other. They don't need to pin a collapsible stock and flash it around. They're going to come under law enforcement at some point in their life, acting and thinking the way that they're doing. As far as the cool factor, I get it. You see it in movies, John Wick, Zombieland. I mean, wherever there's a Benelli M4, I think there was a television show where somebody had a Benelli M4 with a skeletonized stock. It looks cool. You want to be tough. You want to look great when you get out at the range and everybody's oohing and on over your gun. The fact is, folks, for those of you who don't know, the skeletonized stock has certain purposes. And other than that, the skeletonized stock sucks. Like, I would think that the skeletonized stock would be awesome if I was hiking through the mountains and in a place where I'm allowed to have my gun. I'll just go ahead and put that out there. Let's say that I was going to take the Appalachian Trail and I had a special permit issued from the President of the United States and the head of the ATF that said I could carry my shotgun along the Appalachian Trail. I would probably rather have a collapsible stock for that because I can shrink it down, stow it over my back, and make it nice and tidy, okay, rather than having the big long stock. If I were driving, or if I had 5,000 acres of ranch land in Texas or Wyoming or something, and I'm driving around in my pickup truck all the time, I might like having the collapsible stock to make it stow away in my truck easier. If I was sailing the world in a yacht and space was limited on board this yacht, and I wanted to stick it in the special little spot by the by my I don't know if they call it a steering wheel on a boat or what, but I want to stick it there next to wherever the captain stands, and I have a limited amount of height, and I want to shrink it down and put it there. That would be great. If I was law enforcement and military and I'm going to be kicking down doors and cutting corners and stuff, that makes sense maybe for a collapsible stock, okay? But if you're just going to go shotgunning, if you're just going to have it for simple home defense, the collapsible stock actually, for most people, makes them a worse shotgunner. You don't get a proper cheek weld. I'm not going to tell you what that is. If you don't know what it is, you need to look it up. But to get a proper cheek weld, you're going to need a regular stock, a serious non-skeletonized stock. The Mesa Tactical System, you're going to get a cheek weld and be able to control your gun. The Benelli original stock, you're going to have a cheek weld and be able to control your gun. The collapsible stock, you're going to have no cheek weld. And if you try to get one with the collapsible stock, every time you fire it, you're going to be smacking yourself in the face and you're going to be busted all to hell, okay? It doesn't make any sense for most people to need the collapsible stock. So I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to pin it to for the cool factor, for the giving your finger to law enforcement factor. It doesn't make sense because at the end of the day, it's not a better stock for most people. It's not the stock that's going to make you a good shotgunner. It's not a stock that's going to allow you to control your shotgun properly. Okay? A lot of you are not going to get training to do the things that would be done that would make the collapsible stock a reasonable purchase. So think about sticking with the OEM stock or getting the Mesa Tactical stock. Though, in my opinion, I mean, I don't need to give you all sorts of boilerplate warnings and to limit the liability on the advice for a stock. Okay, I fully advise you either sticking with your original stock or getting the Mesa over getting the collapsible stock. So again, is it legal to pin the stock in California? Because I know I didn't answer that question. I honestly don't know. You can send a letter to the ATF and ask them if it's legal to pin the collapsible stock in California so that it cannot be collapsed and you can have it. I don't see any reason in the world to do that. I think it's ridiculous, quite frankly, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. But you'd have to contact the ATF. I'm not going to advise one way or the other or suggest one way or the other. I think it's stupid. I think if you're trying to attract law enforcement, negative attention from law enforcement, I think that you need to get a head check. And I think if it's all about the cool factor, I won't go so far as to say that you need a head check, but you need to think about what you're buying the gun for. You're not buying it for the cool factor. You're buying it for a self-defense weapon. You're buying it for sport. You're buying it for... that's pretty much it, self-defense and sport, right? You're buying it because you can under the Second Amendment. How's that answer? It doesn't matter what your reason is, does it? You can under the Second Amendment. That's my favorite answer. That's why you're buying it. Keep that in mind. It doesn't need to be cool. It doesn't need to be some sort of an FU to the cops at the end of the day, okay? Let's get serious here. The next question I always get is on the charging handles, okay? I've got two of them here. These are both for the M4 shotgun. This one is shorter than this one. Sorry, I have to look at the screen while I'm doing this to make sure I'm talking about the right one. Listen, this question I get all the time. Should I get the 1/2 inch? Should I get the 3/4? The 1/2 inch is the larger one. Let's see if I can get a clear. Can I get a clear picture? Can't really. It's not wanting to focus in on that. So anyway, you can kind of see the difference here. One is a 1/2 inch. One is 3/4, okay? They both stick out from the gun the same distance, okay? Try to line them up there as best I can. They both are the same length out of the gun. So the length is the same. It's just, do you want the fatter one? Do you want the thinner one? We're going to talk about this right now. On the gun right now is a 1/2 inch handle, okay? Along with, this is a spec part for a Freedom Fighter Tactical. I used to have the GG&G one on my gun. This is a spec part that I had made, and it's an oversized bolt release button. Basically, it releases the bolt, okay? So, 1/2 inch or 3/4. One of the questions I get when it comes to the 1/2 inch or 3/4 is, does it conflict with the bolt release button? And we will see that right now. Nope. Nope. No conflict with the bolt release button whatsoever, okay? So I know I had a 1/2 inch on this. This is actually my personal Benelli M4. This is my first one ever. I've never cleaned it. I've got about 35,000 rounds through it. It's never been cleaned aside from a bore snake through the tube, or through the barrel. But I generally use a 3/4 inch. In fact, this one is mine. I generally use a 3/4 inch on my gun. I don't use the 1/2 inch, but the 1/2 inch is nice. Okay, but it's just a matter of personal preference. They both work great with this gun. There you can see it. A lot of people, I know it's tough to shop things like a charging handle when you can't hold it and compare. Okay, they lock into place so they're not the spinning ones. You get a little bit of play, but you have to turn it hard to get it to continue to spin. So both of them work great. My preference is the 3/4 inch. I sell more of the 1/2 inch. And I like 3/4 in titanium, and I like 1/2 inch in steel. If I'm using 1/2 inch, I'd use steel. If I'm using 3/4, I'd use titanium. And that actually takes us to our next question, steel versus titanium. So right here I have two 1/2 inch knobs, okay, charging handles. The dark one is the steel, the light one is the titanium, okay? We make the titanium as dark as we can make it without turning it ugly or making it just awful, okay? So what's the difference between steel and titanium? The steel is going to be heavier. It's going to be heavier. It's going to be more prone to rust, but I don't even think that's a worry if you take care of your gun. Not a worry, okay? And it's not as strong overall as the titanium. Those are really the three differences between the steel and the titanium. Titanium is much stronger, much harder. And the color difference. You can make the steel a nice charcoal color that matches the gun. You can't quite get the charcoal color with the titanium. All that being said, people buy titanium for weight resistance, or weight reduction, corrosion resistance, and overall strength. People buy the steel to get the color match and to save the money. Now, you might remember a minute ago I said if I was using the 3/4, I use titanium. If I'm using the 1/2 inch, I'm using steel. The reason is because I think steel is a better material for a charging handle than titanium. It's not that titanium isn't good. It's not that titanium won't serve you well for the lifetime of your gun and probably your children's lifetimes as well. It's just steel's just, I mean, if we're gonna really split hairs and get deep into the weeds on this, the steel's just the better tool. Tool steel is the very best material for the charging handle over top of the titanium. But the 3/4, I like the 3/4 because it's just extra weight off the gun. Even if it's minute, it's still extra weight off the gun. If I go 1/2 inch, I go steel because it's a better material for a charging handle. Either way, you know, don't call me getting all worried about this or that. Like, will it last my life? Yes, it's going to last your lifetime. Okay. But I'm just sharing with you what I know about materials and what I know about titanium versus steel as far as the charging handles go. Another reason why I go 3/4 is just in case there's a load that the Benelli is not wanting to cycle properly because of weight. The titanium is going to help in that regard as opposed to the steel. The steels are kind of heavy compared to the titanium as far as the bolt goes. There's this old wives' tale on the internet that Benelli shotguns don't cycle light loads. That's a bunch of nonsense. Some Benelli M1, some Benelli M2s, even the Benelli M4, every once in a while you're going to find some ammo that it just isn't very compatible with because maybe it's too light or whatever. Maybe it's the way it's balanced. I don't know. But people call me and, oh my God, and it's not something to worry about, okay? It just isn't. And people in the old days of Freedom Fighter Tactical would call me and ask me if my gun would, you know, the Benelli, they would say even this, they would say, yeah, the Benelli M4, I hear it has problems cycling loads. No, it's the Benelli M1 had problems cycling loads. The Benelli M2 might have had problems cycling loads. Might have, okay? What's the difference between the M1, M2, and M4? The first two are inertia driven. The inertia from the recoil cycles the load, okay? The Benelli M4 is piston driven. They rechannel the energy from the explosion to cycle in the next load. So that's it, folks. The M4 is much more reliable than the M1 and M2 because of the piston technology. But even the old M1s, M2s, look at it, it's not... The thing about the internet you have to understand is that 90% of the stuff you read on the internet isn't even close, okay? 90% of the stuff you hear from some guy standing behind the counter talking shop with you isn't even close, okay? It's tough to find people who truly know what they're talking about. I've found that to be true. And I dispel all sorts of myths about the Benelli shotgun when people call me. I have people that call me and want me to dispel myths about my competitors' products because my competitors don't answer emails or have a phone number. I don't dispel my competitors' myths. I don't bother with that. I'm not the clearinghouse for information on my competitor. If you can't reach them by email or phone, that's a problem between you and them. I don't stand, you know, I have people all the time that call me up. Is this company still around? Do you have their contact information? What's the story? I don't even care. And even if I knew, it's just not my job to do that. So you know, we're all adults, right? We talked about that when we were talking. I was giving you some warnings about doing your own homework on 922R. We're all adults, okay? If some company out there doesn't want to answer emails or answer the phone, they're an adult. They can handle business the way they want to handle it. I'm not gonna be their secretary service. And I never really was expected to be their secretary service. I just find it amusing when people call me up, yeah, that company that used to make that collapsible stock, whatever happened to them? Where are they now? What's their story? Where can I get those? Why don't they keep making those? I mean, I don't even care. Okay, I don't even care. So let's move on to the final question. No, it's not the final question. I think I've got 2 more questions left. Can't get 7 shells in the mag tube. You try as hard as you can. You've got your gun, you're shoving in shells into the bottom of it, and you've got your brand new tube from Freedom Fighter Tactical, okay? And a brand new spring from Freedom Fighter Tactical, and you can't get 7 shells in them. And you're gonna call me up on the phone, Todd, something's wrong with your tube, something's wrong with your spring. Nope, okay? It's always the ammo. 2 3/4 ammo, even 3-inch ammo. A lot of the times it says 2 3/4, but it's slightly longer, even just a hair. And if it's even just a hair, by the time you get to your 7th round, you can almost get that 7th round in there, but you're about a centimeter away from popping it into place. That's the accumulation of all those shells being slightly too long. That last shell won't go in. You don't need to cut your spring. You don't need to worry that your mag tube is defective. You don't need to worry that your follower is defective. It's the ammo every time. Take my word for it, folks. In 12 years of doing this, we've never had an issue where somebody didn't get enough ammo in their gun because of a tube, because of a follower, because of a spring, or other things. I mean, people even called me up and said, yeah, I bought my gun, I got your trigger kit, I put it in, and then I go and put shells in it for the first time, and I can't get 7 shells in it. It must be your trigger kit. Trust me, I hear it all the time. It would never be the trigger kit, okay? I've never heard anybody blame the charging handle for this yet, but you know what? If I'm in business another 20 years, that might happen. People have all sorts of ideas, and it's understandable. They don't know. A lot of my customers and a lot of people out there getting into shotgunning buy this as their first gun, and they're not trained. They don't know what to look for. I was green when I first got into shotguns. I didn't know what, I mean, I'm shocked that I'm even in this business. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a manufacturer. I didn't learn any of this stuff until I started doing Freedom Fighter Tactical. So I don't begrudge anybody. I don't mean to, if it seemed like I was belittling, I'm not being belittling. I totally understand it. But you'd be amazed at the things that I hear. And these people are, you know, they're brand new into shotgunning, and I welcome that. We all should welcome that. We need to help them out. And that's why I answer the phone. I want to be there for people when they have these questions, because I want to set them straight so that they don't have to panic, so that they don't have to worry, so that they don't have to panic and worry that their gun's working properly, panic and worry that their gun's operating safely, panic and worrying that their gun is, you know, I just don't want them to panic and worry. So that's why I answer my phones and my emails, going back to that conversation. And actually, we've already answered my last question, which is, will the Benelli M4 cycle light loads? Okay, yes, it will cycle light loads. Look at how light do you want to go with it? Most of us that are using the planet's best self-defense military style offensive defensive shotgun aren't going to be using the lightest loads. So if you're wanting to use super light loads in order to go shoot squirrels or something, maybe you pick a different gun. If you think that this won't cycle. The other thing is you need to try all your ammo before whatever it is you're doing. If you're using it for self-defense at home, you want to go try the ammo, see how it patterns, see how the gun works, see how it fires, see how you handle it. You want to try it. If you're using it to shoot squirrels, if you're using it, whatever you're using it for, you want to buy the ammo you think you're going to use with it, and you want to go out there and work with it and know it and trust it, so that you don't have to worry about it. So if you want to use a super light load, knock yourself out, but go shoot a bunch of it. Go buy a brick of it, 100 rounds, 200 rounds, whatever, and shoot it up, okay? Make sure that your gun is happy with it. Guns get unhappy with ammo for all sorts of reasons, even odd reasons. I had some ammo that didn't cycle properly, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what it is. And then I realized that some of the shells had been sitting in a house that often got over 100 degrees, and they had been sitting there for years. And some of the shells in the boxes, not all of them, ever so slightly mushroomed on the tip. And that caused them to drag through the magazine tube. That's not where I got caught up though. The lifter, the carrier wouldn't push it from the tube up into the chamber. It would get hung up there. And I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. And I put all the shells out and laid them all out. And I started really looking at them. And it was obvious that 1 out of every 5 shells was mushroomed a little bit. So, you know, you learn something new about guns every day. And that's why I have the phone number on the website. You can call at any time. You will reach me. If you leave me a message, if I don't answer, I will call you back. If you send me an email at freedomfightertactical@gmail.com, I will respond to you. I respond to everybody. At Freedom Fighter Tactical, we ship once a week. I package on Sunday morning early. I ship on Monday morning when the post office opens. Every package is United States Postal Service priority with a signature confirmation on it. I do not waive signature confirmation. I do not waive only shipping, packing and shipping on Sunday, Monday, because I have other things I have to do during the week. I'm not where my inventory is all week long, so this is a schedule that works for me. It has to work for you if you have something that you're gonna do. Let's say you're gonna go to Front Sight, or you're gonna go to Thunder Ranch, wherever it is you're going, and you're gonna go in May, you need to get your order in before the last week of April, okay? If you want your order to go out on Sunday, you need to get your order in before Sunday morning at 8 a.m., okay, Pacific time. Probably even earlier than that. That's not a guarantee, folks. So if you want to get cute and put in your order at 7:55 Pacific on Sunday, there's a good chance you're not going out, okay? That's usually how early I get going. Titanium tubes are often sold out. Get them when they're in. Get your pre-orders in if we're out of stock. You want to get your pre-order in case we run out. Trigger kits, get them when they're in stock. We sell out of them. It takes forever to manufacture trigger kits and titanium tubes. So you want to get them when they're in stock, and if you really want some out of the next batch, you get your pre-order in and you sit tight and you wait. You can call me anytime. I keep the website updated on the pages for the trigger kits and the titanium tubes, so you know that they're out of stock when they're out of stock and what the wait time is going to be. And if there's any news, I put it on the website. So that's really it with the questions today. Now, I did tell you there was a bonus. If I were buying this gun today, how would I outfit it, okay? What would I buy to make this a totally badass shotgun if I were buying it today? Knowing what I know now after 10 years of selling Benelli M4 parts, after 10 years of manufacturing Benelli M4 parts, after 10 years of teaching people how to build their Benelli M4 shotgun, how would I build the shotgun today? And I'm going to tell you exactly what I would do. The first thing I would do, titanium magazine tube, okay? I know they're expensive. Titanium prices went up with the tariffs that Trump put into place. I'm all in favor of that, but the tubes jumped about 30 bucks, 40 bucks, something like that per tube. So right now, as this video is made, they're $300, okay? The steel tubes are, I think they're $200. So it's an extra $100 for a titanium tube. Now you might be thinking, oh, that Todd, he wants to sell me the expensive stuff. Let me tell you something. Dollar for dollar, my return on investment is far greater on the steel tube than on the titanium tube. The headache involved with manufacturing steel tubes is about 1/10 of the headache involved with manufacturing titanium tubes. I can have steel tubes whipped up in a month or two. It takes me 4 to 5 months to manufacture a small batch of titanium tubes, okay? I have every incentive in the world, if I want to make more money on my investment, to steer you towards the steel, okay? I think titanium is the perfect fit for this shotgun. It lightens up the front end some. I know some of you are going to be, the heavier it is on the front end, the more you can manage the recoil. That may or may not be true. And I don't care if it is or it isn't, and it also is going to be very subjective. Some people may find that to be true, and some people will find that to not be true, okay? I'm one of the people that finds that not to be true. I like a lighter front end on the shotgun. I don't remember the weight right off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me of the titanium versus the steel. But for all intents and purposes, the titanium is half the weight of the steel. It's not quite exactly, it's slightly more heavy than half the weight. It's like if the steel tube comes in at 300 grams, the titanium is going to come in at 152, okay? So we're right there at the halfway point. That doesn't sound like a lot. I mean, how heavy could a steel tube be? But in any instance where I've had a gun outfitted the same, 2 guns outfitted the same, aside from one has the titanium tube and one has the steel tube, and I let somebody who's never held either one of them hold them, people, man, they light up like a pinball machine when they hold the titanium tube. They love it. So if I'm building the gun for me, okay, with my budget and my expectations in a shotgun, I'm buying the titanium tube. I want the best. I want this gun to be just totally awesome. So I'm buying that titanium tube, okay? Second thing I'm buying the trigger kit. Okay, I need 922R. I can't have a collapsible stock here in California, so I don't need the 4 parts. But what I like about the trigger kit is it's a lighter trigger pull, it's a smoother trigger pull. You don't have any travel time between when you start pressuring the trigger and you get your surprise break. It's like a rifle trigger. It's great. On average, it's going to take 2 pounds off the weight of your pull. It's coated in NP3, which is awesome. So that's my second. It's just it's what I would do immediately. Titanium tube, trigger kit. Next, worry-free extended carrier. I know I don't have one on my original gun, okay? I don't know that I have one within arm's reach. The worry-free extended carrier, actually I have one. We're gonna jump cut right to it. All right, so here we are, jump cut to the carrier. So if you notice, look at the difference between those. One has a rounded tip and one is a flat tip. The Freedom Fighter Tactical is the flat tip. What the rounded tip does is, and I don't know what is the idea behind that for Benelli, but when you're shoving shells into your gun with your thumb and you're shoving them in, if you're doing speed loading, that rounded tip can catch your thumb and can practically rip your thumbnail off if you get it good, you know, jerking your thumb out. The flat end prevents the carrier from attaching onto your finger. You see how that, let's see here. There we go. You see how that is? Watch this. When I put my thumb in there, let's see. It can, as I pull my, okay, I push my thumb in, as I pull it out, that U part right there, sorry to give you the finger, that U part can catch your thumb. Okay, if you're wearing gloves, it can catch it even more. So that can catch your thumb. The flat won't catch your thumb. So it's worry-free, right? It's made to not catch your thumb. So that's what I would do. That's another part I would do. So I would do titanium tube, trigger kit, carrier. I've already told you, this is my original gun. That's the Mesa Tactical stock. That is the Urbino stock without the cheek riser. I don't put optics on my gun. The cheek riser, this actually has the cheek riser in the picture. You see that riser thing over that? The riser is only necessary if you're putting optics on your gun. I don't like optics on a shotgun at all. So I have a nice smooth so I can get a cheek weld if you want to see what a cheek weld looks like. That's a cheek weld, got it up against my face. So I like the Mesa Tactical stock because the OEM stock is too long for me, okay? Mesa makes a part, and I sell all this stuff, by the way. Mesa makes a part, it's some kind of ring, but the part number is 90820. And this is my front attachment if I were to make this sling go to 2 points, okay? I can quickly and easily make this sling go to this point if I need to have it on the front as well. I don't generally use that front ring, but I don't like the OEM style ring that comes on it. This is a $10 part. It's made by Mesa Tactical. I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but it's on my website, 90820. It's like 10 bucks, 12 bucks, something like that. The Meprolite Ghost Ring inserts. Okay, the Benelli shotgun does not have sights that you can see in the dark, okay? So the Meprolites use the tritium, just like your handguns use, so you can mark them in the dark, you can see them, and you can trace them. And the Benelli, the Meprolites work on the Benelli wonderfully. I've used them for 15 years, and I love them, okay? There's not a lot of choices. I don't even know if there is another choice other than the Meprolite for the Benelli M4 for tritium inserts. So if there is out there and you know about it, please leave it in the comments below. But as far as I know, Meprolite's the only one in the game. And I've been selling them for years and I love it. The next upgrade I would do is the ERT sling kit. I do sell this. I met the gentleman from ERT Slings at SHOT Show a number of years ago, and I've been selling his slings since. These slings are awesome. Now, there's some people out there that are not gonna like that they strap to the shotgun the way this one does with Velcro. This has only been, I installed this on the shotgun probably 12 years ago. And it's been on there since. It's not coming off. 35,000, I mean, it's crazy how many rounds have been through this gun. I've used this in classes. I've run through canyons. I've done all sorts of stuff. I would put this sling against any other sling out there, period, okay? I love this thing. It goes around the neck just right. It's not gonna work probably with your collapsible stock. I've never tried it. And then if you wanna go from a single point to a 2-point sling really quick, it's got this nice clip here that can easily, you just kind of flick of the wrist and move it down, and now you've got a 2-point sling. I don't see any reason to do that, but it does it quickly and easily. These kits are on Freedom Fighter's website under accessories or something. They're easy to find. Urban ER's T-slings are awesome. I've already told you that I go with the 3/4 inch charging handle. I love the 3/4 inch charging handle. This is what I do. This is it. 3/4 inch. I think the 1/2 inch was on there. I don't know why the 1/2 inch was on there. This is the handle that I choose. I've been using it for years. And my final, the final thing that I'm going to recommend as I do this video in September 2019, I don't sell it, is the oversized bolt release button. Okay, we've been working on one for years. I've just never finished the project. It's a daunting project to deal with. So in the meantime, I send people to GG&G, okay? GG, I think their website is GGGAZ, as in Arizona, GGGAZ.com. Before I was ever in business, they were making this button. I have this. This is my prototype button. It's not their button. It's similar. We have a different texture on the button, but it's similar. But this is a prototype button. And like I said, I think this prototype is like 5 years old. I did it a long time ago and I never took the project past. But I've been sending people to GG&G for years. And, but I think the oversized bolt release button is one of the most important changes to make on the shotgun, okay? If you, truth be told, and I don't even sell the part. So head over to GG&G and pick up the part if that's what you want. I think they're about 125, 130 bucks, but it's a good part nonetheless. I really like it. And I stand by theirs. I may have my own someday down the road. That's the plan. But I did this prototype 5 years ago, at least 5 years ago, if not longer. And I still don't have one. So it's just one of those things. I just haven't put the energy into it. And I've been sending people over to GG&G. Theirs is tried and true. I've used it for years, and I do recommend it. I probably will have mine someday. Who knows? We'll see. But that's it, folks. That's my shotgun. That's the bonus content. Folks, I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it informative. Again, don't take any of it as legal advice. It's simply my understanding of the law, my understanding of the shotgun, my recommendations. I put links to all the parts down below in the description. I put links to the website in the description. Be sure to like, review, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think of the video. I got a lot of videos for Freedom Fighter Tactical coming out through the balance of 2019, 2020. I hope you join me, and we'll do it right here on the Freedom Fighter channel. Thank you, folks. I will talk to you soon.